Thank you for that.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Economic Growth and Development, March 23rd. I have a quorum here, I see. Has everybody had an opportunity to look over the February 23rd meeting minutes? Okay, comments, questions, changes? Somebody want to move it? Anybody?
Where are you? I'll move it, Garrity.
Thank you, Supervisor Garrity, and a second from Supervisor Leggett. All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Awesome. I'm going to play with the agenda a little bit. I have some special guests here today, and hopefully, you guys, Liza and Wayne, you guys don't mind. I did ask. A couple months back, I had a conversation with Supervisor Frazier, and we were talking about what makes her community tick. She recalled some work that volunteers do in her community that's really, really important to Hague and what happens up there. And it made me realize that as we're moving forward in our economic recovery, and all of our individual towns are looking at how we're going to use our stimulus money, that it was an important moment for us to hear from some of our not-for-profits on how they maximize the money they get and what the economic, sorry, I'm losing track of my train of thought here, what the economic payback is from our not-for-profits. So Michael Biddle, I'll have you start out. Thanks for being here.
Chair Hogan, thank you so much for having me here today, and good to see all of you on this call. Very excited to be invited here, and I'm going to keep this short because I want to focus on Andrea Deep, the Executive Director and CEO of the Warren Washington Association of Mental Health, and also Brian Baer, the President and CEO of the Greater Y in the area, and the impact that they have in our community. Number one, I think just the pure impact on people that both these folks and their teams have is outstanding. And also not just in the backyard of Warren County, but the effect that they have in the greater region. That's one. Two is they all work hard, as all the nonprofits do. The Adirondack Regional Chamber actually has 84 nonprofits. It's a little over 10% of our membership are nonprofits. Most of them are a blend of private cash infusion, as well as some of them have local, county, state, and federal cash backing as well. So I'm going to keep this short. I want to thank you again, Chair Hogan, for the invite. But I'm going to turn this over to my good friend, Andrea Deep at the Warren Washington Association of Mental Health.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come before you all and talk to you. I tend to speak a little bit too long when I start talking about my agency, so I will try to keep it as brief as possible. I'm very passionate about our mission here at Warren Washington Association for Mental Health. Our name alone does not speak the volume in which we are trying to impact the agency with our mission. Our mission is to improve the quality of life for individuals that are dealing with mental health diagnoses. And quite frankly, those diagnoses could be a full range of anything persistent and severe, right up to complex diagnoses that are mixed with not just only mental health, but substance use disorders, personality disorders, intellectual disabilities, etc. Our goal here at Warren Washington Association for Mental Health is to meet people where they are at, to listen to them, to embrace them, and try to use all of the tools that we have in our toolboxes to be able to help each individual person based on what their goals are, what their needs are. We meet people in very acute phases where they are just coming out of psychiatric centers or hospitals. We have a large subset of our population are coming to us and they are homeless, whether they are chronically homeless by definition of the federal government or the state government. We view them as the same and trying to develop what is the goal for them in being an active part of the community. We also have another large subset of population that are also falling within the ALICE population. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. I have to read it. I always forget the terminology or the acronym, Asset Limited Income Restrained but Employed. And obviously those are the individuals that they do earn above the federal poverty level, but not enough to afford the bare bones household budgets. So obviously the cost of living outpaces what they earn. We deal with a lot of individuals and so many different needs that they come to the table with, all with that goal to make them an independent individual who is living and working in the community that they want to be in, so that they can be a part of that community, giving back to the community, being a part of it in any way that they can. And I'm very passionate about this. I could tell you numerous stories of where we have seen people come from, bare bone needs, coming to us with nothing but, a bag of clothes, right on up to where they are 10 years later, and they own their own home. They have a stable job, and they are healthy, both mind and body together. Our goal obviously is not a cookie cutter approach in any way, shape, or form. It has to be done independently based on what each person needs. And, our goal is to try to address the needs of our community. We have, many different departments within our agency, meeting things ranging from clinical services with our Kaleo Counseling Services Clinic, right through residential services. We have our new Cooper location that we're looking forward to opening the doors and having our first people move in the middle of May of this year. We also have care and case management services to link people to other services in the community, whether it be, linking them to DSS or other not-for-profit community agencies that they desperately need services to also linking them to employment, to linking them to other care and services that they need. And we also have a department called Support Services, which is, including of a day program that includes a work program in it to help people get ready for the workplace. And again, meeting them where they're at to get to that point of where they are successful in a workplace environment. We have several locations across Warren and Washington County. Washington counties, and ultimately, like I said before, our goal is keeping them as active participants in the community, that they're living and working in the community, and that they are stable and living completely independently. And we'll provide whatever supports we can to ensure that happens for each and every one of them. I can tell you that on an annual basis, we serve about 1,200 individuals in an array of our services. And I've got about 125 staff to make that happen. And we're growing every single day. Again, it's based on need. And certainly COVID has made that a lot more difficult in trying to meet the need. As it has truly brought out some new things in our community that we're all having to deal with, and we're trying to work towards together, to help each other get through to the very end. So thank you again. I'm stopping myself because I could go on forever, but I do appreciate your time. And certainly I'm available if anybody has any other questions, or I'd love to meet with everybody. Looking forward to non-virtual meetings someday soon so we can meet each other in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Does anybody have any questions? All right, Michael, back to you.
Chair Hogan, thank you. The reason that I have Andrea on the line is one of the things that we struggle with in Warren County and the greater region are folks to work, folks for employment, not only looking for people, but people that are currently working. So it was really important that we had Andrea on the line because her servicing 1,200 people in our area is amazing. These are people that are employed. These are people that need help. These are mental health has gone, challenges have increased 96% over the past year per the CDC and others. We need this more than ever, and it's not something that's going to go away. It's something, unfortunately, that's with us for forever. And it's a challenge that we need to continue to hit head on. We certainly need everyone's thoughts, prayers, but certainly your support to make programs like these robust, to make sure that we're hitting people, meeting people where they're at, as Andrea said, in their mental health needs. So thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what a great job Andrea does. It's something near and dear to my heart from a personal level. And I'm sure each of you on this call, on this Zoom, knows somebody that struggles with mental health challenges. And it's people like Andrea that really help those in need. So Andrea, thank you. My next colleague is somebody that probably a lot of you know. He is in a lot of ways my twin brother, but he has glasses on so you could tell the difference between the two of us. Brian Baer is the president and CEO of the YMCA. And Brian has quite an impact, like Andrea does, on our community. I'll tell you what, Brian, you and I spoke about this yesterday. The Y provides a great outlet for mental health. And Andrea, I know you and I have talked about this, but the exercise, getting kids out. Chairman Merlino mentioned it in the park committee. We got to get kids out. We got to get them out playing. We need to make opportunities. Brian, there's a couple things I think you'd like to hit on the impact that the Y as a nonprofit has in our community.
Yeah, excellent. Michael, can everybody hear me okay? Great. And Chairperson Hogan, good to see you. A lot of friends in the room. It's going to be a hard act to follow Andrea. She's certainly she's passionate about her organization and the people she serves. Chairperson Hogan, is there a way to make me the presenter so I can share my screen by chance, or?
I think we can do that. Tammy?
Okay.
Or Amanda? You guys there?
Yep, Tammy's on it.
Thank you.
Excellent. I'll mention quickly a couple things as we, yes, he can share his screen. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you so much. You should be able to see my screen now. So quickly, actually touching on the mental health, connecting those individuals that are in crisis to healthy relationships. Actually, I'm really excited. And you'll be the first to know. Outside our staff and our board, we have a community wellness program that connects those individuals that are in treatment for drug and alcohol abuse to healthy relationships through connections with those at the YMCA. We've done this program for about a year and a half. It was funded from some money through DSRIP to an innovation grant. I'm really happy to announce that we have a partnership now with Cdphp, and they have underwritten the program for the next 12 months. So really excited about that. We served over 100 people last year and the year before through COVID, and we're really excited about continuing that program. So Andrea actually touched on this. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, maybe catch a couple of items that she didn't. But really what I try to do is boil this down to who do we serve. So certainly we serve, as well as Andrea and other nonprofits serve families, adults, and seniors in our community. Where we live, and I try to say that in nonprofits, the YMCA, where we live is in between people that get government assistance, that live below the poverty level, and that livable wage that Andrea touched on. And this is really in between there, those people that are at the poverty level or below the poverty level to a livable wage. That's where the YMCA and other nonprofits live. We provide services to those individuals. The Y raises about $400,000, gives away over $500,000, a little less than $500,000 a year in scholarships and partnerships. We do have a partnership, and I'm really excited that partnership is going to happen again this summer with the town of Queensbury. Supervisor Stroud, thank you so much. We just that was just passed this month, where we provide free access to youth to come to our summer camp. We do have that same a relationship with the city of Glens Falls, where they provide us support for summer camp as well. And also with our Adirondack Center in Brant Lake, we do have a great relationship with the town of Chester, as well as the town of Horicon. I know that we have the two supervisors on the call as well. So we couldn't do it without those relationships and that support. So I would say, and Andrea was very eloquent in regards to this, and I'll kind of tag onto this. Right now, and actually in 2017, I would argue that these numbers probably have increased, certainly post-COVID. But we have in Warren County, we have 14% as of 2017 that live below the poverty level. That Alice group is the group that Andrea spoke of, which is another 27% of the people in our community are people that live below the poverty or below livable wage, but not that make too much for to get any kind of assistance. That is our working poor. And if you total those two numbers up, it's almost half of our community is within that those groups. Pretty shocking, a figure for us. This has actually changed. I know we had some discussion as the minimum wage increased. The poverty level has not increased. So what has happened is we've graduated people that are working poor, that were making less than the poverty level, but were working poor, into the Alice group. So that Alice group has grown. It will continue to grow as we push that minimum wage up to 12 plus. And if we go to 15, it'll do it as well. So again, it's going to be a larger impact on nonprofits like the YMCA and Andrea's organization. So looking at that, what does that mean? So for a single adult, that's an individual that's making $10 or less an hour, $21,000 a year. So for a family of 2 adults and 2 children, it's $67,000 a year. So we have a lot of people that are living within that group. This is all based on the United Way's work with the Alice study. So where does the Y, we talk about childcare. So one of the main things that we do at the Y is childcare. And what that is we get people, we give the ability for that group, that group that's either below the poverty level or the Alice group, we provide childcare for those individuals as well as people that are able to make a livable wage. But those numbers, I'll show you the ratio in a minute, which might be a bit eye-opening for you. So let me tell you where we live a lot of times. It happens constantly at the YMCA. We have an individual, usually a working mom. So I want to point, it's our statistics show that the majority of the people we serve are single parent moms in our community. Not to say there's single parent dads that we don't serve, but that's the majority of, and that's the face of those people that we serve at the Y. So let's say that we talk about this individual has just been let go of their job. At that point, there becomes a financial crisis. They're not able to make ends meet. Great news is they're able to get back to work. They get offered a job. So what happens is there's no money for getting for initial childcare fees for those initial weeks of services. So what the YMCA does, they show up at our doorstep. The YMCA gets their kids into our after-school care program. Our after-school care program, or our summer camp. which is an extension of our summer care program. We do our after school care program in 11 different sites throughout the community, throughout our region. We have 100 plus kids in that program, and we see over 200 kids in our summer camp. That is those kids, as you drive by the Adirondack Center in Horicon, or you drive by the YMCA in Glens Falls, and you see the kids that are playing outside, those kids are there and their parents are working. That's the majority of the kids. We have a few that come for the experience, pop in, and their parents don't work, both parents don't work, or they're staying with their grandparents for the summer, but the majority of our kids in our programs, their parents are working. So what happens is they start the program. So they'll come to us on a Thursday. They need to start work on a Monday. We take care of it. We give them safe care. They start working in the businesses that in our community, those people that you serve and that we serve. And we're able to get the people back to work. So what we do in our programs is we give the ability for people to work. We also give the people the ability to get back to work. And we play a large role in that. What I would also say is, what's the impact of the Y? So pre-COVID, the YMCA had 260 employees. We had people that worked all the way from that Horicon, Brant Lake area, all the way down to northern Saratoga County, out into Washington County. A majority of our people are from Warren County. We pay out over $2 million in salaries. So again, those are income taxes that are paid. That is the money generated from this organization. We're the first job for many different youth in our area. Two of the youth that I would say are community leaders that started their employment at a YMCA. Dr. Duffy was a gymnastics instructor in her hometown. You probably remember Don McCoy. He was the past president of Six Flags Great Escape, was actually a past board member or board chair here at the Y. He was a lifeguard, started as a lifeguard at the YMCA. So you'll see that. So we actually get people started in their careers. We have them understand what it's like to be responsible and a responsible employee, how to interact with the community. They learn that at the YMCA. The last thing I would say is, when what we see at our doorsteps in a normal year is we have many people that are moving to the area, have moved to the area, consider moving to the area. They drive around the community, and then they look at, they come to the Y, and they ask what is offered here. They tour the Y. This is a big draw for people as they're thinking about moving to the area. We are a regional organization. We do not just serve Glens Falls. We do not just serve Queensbury. We have people that drive as far as Rutland, Vermont to the Y on an ongoing basis. Definitely from the north, from Washington County, northern Warren County. We actually, if we could not get a quote unquote charter of a YMCA, if we just served Glens Falls or just served Glens Falls and Queensbury, we would not have enough population to have a Y. So we serve the region at this location, as well as the locations that we have up north. I'm going to stop right there. It's certainly, like Andrea, I could go on forever talking about nonprofits or talking about the Y. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to everybody today. The last thing I would mention, so talking to Andrea, we would absolutely love any sort of support that you all could give us. And I'm talking about the nonprofits as a whole. The story of the Y is not unlike many stories of nonprofits. We are struggling, and we're going to continue to struggle financially. The Y was a $4.6 million organization pre-COVID. We are lucky to make possibly $1.6 to $1.7 million in revenue right now. We've gone from 260 employees down to 40. Including myself and all the rest of our management team. We're opening up the Y. We are cleaning the Y. We are doing everything to serve our community. We're mowing the lawns. We're picking up the debris. We're doing all of that work. We need help. And we're looking at it when things start to open up. We're not going to turn this on as a light switch. It's going to take time for us to recover. It could take up to 2 years to 3 years for us to fully recover. So we need help and need support of the community. So Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to everyone today.
Thank you, Brian. That was great. Michael, did you have more to add to the conversation?
Just in closing, Chair Hogan, the impact that just these 2 out of 84 nonprofits that we have, I hope is telling. I hope it piqued your interest. Think about the numbers that both Andrea and Brian threw out, just in numbers of employment, support to the community, dollars coming in and out is phenomenal. These two, along with the 82 other area nonprofits, are so vital to our economy and things that you didn't even think about. So the why isn't just Brian Bear beating me on the basketball court. It's about providing childcare, mental health, exercise, and a ton of other things that Brian didn't even touch on. One of the things that we also do in closing, the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce has a council called the Adirondack Nonprofit Business Council. We have a board of 15 members, but we have something that we do monthly called a brown bag lunch, and it affords all of our nonprofits in the area to come together. And we usually have a guest speaker that'll speak for about 20 minutes about a specific subject. And then we catch up as a group about things that are on our mind and the difficulties, especially over the last year, of serving our customers. I really want to end by saying this. A nonprofit is so vital to our area, and it is a business just like any other business. It's not a nonprofit business versus profit business. This is a core business to our area. And I'd also like to submit to you that the ARCC is a 100% nonprofit 501c6 as well. We're blessed to serve you. We're happy to be here. Chair Hogan, thank you so much. Brian and Andrea, you always kill it. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, all three of you, for taking the time out of your busy lives to dial in here today and just keep us mindful of the economic impact of nonprofits. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on with our agenda, we'll go into the workforce development, and Liza.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hogan. Good morning, or good afternoon now, everyone. Good to see you. This morning, or this afternoon, I just have one resolution request to expand the Cdphp cycle bike share program to Warren County, which would be a private and public investment, and in collaboration with Greater Glens Falls Transit. We do have Scott Sopcich on the call today as well, in case there are any questions for him. So I'm just asking to bring that to the floor, and I can go into more detail, Supervisor Chairwoman Hogan.
Thank you, Liza. Do I have a motion to bring that to the floor?
That's why I don't make that.
Do we have a second? Was that you, Supervisor Wild, with a second?
That was my first, but I'll take the second.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Go ahead, Liza.
Thank you. So last fall, I reached out to CDTA because we need more affordable transportation options for our workforce, right, around the bus schedule, and environmentally friendly options. So as bike share programs are expanding across the country and really the world, I wanted to learn more about if we could expand Cdphp cycle to Warren County, and I reached out to CDTA, and we began a partnership of discussing these options with Scott for what it would look like in Warren County to support our residents, our tourists, our workforce, and even our businesses. The program has served businesses south of us in 5 different cities. So Albany, Saratoga, Cohoes, Troy, Schenectady, and has grown tremendously in the last 4 seasons. They'll be starting their 5th season next month. And our goal is for this to be a private and public partnership because it's serving everyone. And we know that this opportunity will benefit everyone. And so there's been a lot of interest from the private sector, as well as the public sector, but private sector, many hospitality businesses, nonprofits such as Open Door, I'm happy to go through the list of supporters if anybody's interested in hearing that long list. But the resolution request is for the county to consider investing up to $10,000 for the $25,000 operating expenses a year for this program. We already have private commitment from Hudson Headwaters, the Queensbury Hotel, Fort William Henry, and ongoing conversations with other organizations and private sector businesses. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we had a public meeting on March 3rd, and some of you were there. And the presentation from CDTA was also sent out to the Board of Supervisors, I believe the next day on March 3rd or 4th. But I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have about this program. And again, Scott is here to talk about if anybody has questions about the MOU that would exist between the county and Greater Glens Falls Transit.
Scott, did you want to talk about that, or you want to just field questions?
Well, Madam Chairman, I'm happy just to field questions. I think the MOU should be pretty self-explanatory.
All right, Supervisor Leggett, then Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hogan. How many bicycles are going to be involved in this? I'm sorry I missed the public meeting. This is a great idea, and as was mentioned, this has been successfully used in many other areas. And coming on the heels of what we just heard from Andrea Deep and Brian Baer, it's one of these connecting points that can really help our situation. So thank you.
Absolutely. So for this pilot year, the goal is that we would start with about 20 bikes. And the operating cost does include the bikes, the maintenance, the application, everything. And there's discussion. We looked at different sites for placement of the bike stations. So one definite will likely be at City Hall in Glens Falls because the bus stops are there. Another suggestion is over by the hospital. Albany Med has a bike station by theirs, and they have their employees using bikes to even go to work. And then on the other side of town in Glens Falls, maybe by Open Door, somewhere in that neighborhood, there's definitely interest and support from Open Door. And certainly along the bike trail is our goal, at least for this first year. So Country Club Road parking lot, which is Warren County property by the bike trail, is another option. SUNY Adirondack is very interested in it as well. So this first year it would only be around 20 bikes, but the goal is that it would grow over time. And we certainly have to think about all the safety measures to put in place to expand beyond the bike trail adjacent areas.
Supervisor Wild?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First a comment, then a question. Liza has been working on this for quite a while, and she's skillfully navigated all sorts of things to try to make this happen. And I just want to make sure she gets recognized for her hard work. Secondly, now for the question, $10,000, it's not so much, but it's not so easy to come up with either. And one of the questions I'm sure that's going to be asked, is this expected to be a recurring cost to the county?
I think the pilot year will tell us a lot in terms of how everything goes, what the demand is. What we've seen in the town south of us is that it has doubled ridership in the last 4 years. And so we expect that as well here because we have so many extensive trails and we have so many different populations who would benefit from utilizing the bikes. So to start out, the operating cost would be $25,000 total for the first year. And yes, it could expand to more in future years. But we also think that the different industries who are interested in supporting this and maintaining this as a private-public partnership, we feel like this could be a long-term fund, but the MOU would be renewed every year and could be renegotiated every year.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for either Liza or Scott? Supervisor Strauss.
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman. Liza, so have we secured the $25,000 in funding?
We have not. And that's why the resolution request is up to 10,000. But again, there's still ongoing conversations. Glens Falls, the bid of Glens Falls Business Improvement District, they're interested. We also have additional hoteliers who may be interested in supporting as well privately. So we know Hudson Headwaters is committed, I believe, for 5,000. We have the Queensberry Hotel and Fort William Henry as well. Those are the contributors so far.
So Hudson Headwaters for 5, unknown amount from Queensberry Hotel.
2,500.
Oh, and an unknown amount from Fort William Henry.
2,500.
All right. So if the county puts in 10, we're still lacking 5,000.
Yeah, our goal is still to continue these ongoing conversations with the private sector. As many people are still having this and still learning about this opportunity and what it means for supporting their businesses, as well as their guests, right, for the hotels who might be staying there. So we do feel like it's very reasonable for this pilot year for us to secure up to 15,000 or more from the private sector, and then fill in the remaining 10 from the public sector. We also haven't included the city of Glens Falls. We know there's much interest from them and commitment, and they've been a part of these conversations as well with Amy Collins. But I just don't have that figure to give to you today around what they can commit. But we know there's much interest there.
Don't we need that pretty soon, though?
Yeah. Scott, did you have other conversations with Glens Falls?
I have not, but I think just adding to what Liza said, the purpose, I think, of writing it so it's up to $10,000 is because there still are some unknowns as to what those contributions are going to be. So in advancing it in the form that you have in front of you with the MOU will give us the ability to move forward so we can have a startup date of sometime in April or May in time for the bike season.
Correct. They're starting the 5th season in county south of us in April, and they're fine with us launching in May here. So that is the goal. And up to 10,000 doesn't mean it has to be the full 10,000. We will find all the support that we need because there's so much value for the entire community in this.
Liza and Amy have been pounding the pavement pretty hard and really doing a great job lining up additional sponsors for this program.
And I do want to mention that Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce has supported this initiative since the beginning. Lake George Chamber has recently come on board as they have more members in support of this than opposing it. SUNY Adirondack, as I mentioned, Adirondack Cycling Advocates, and the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council, EDC. There's so much public and private support of this. I do not anticipate it being a challenge with securing the funding. And in the future years, as it grows in popularity, as we anticipate it will, I actually think it'll be easier to secure more funding.
And also funding aside, I would point out it's important to have the MOU with the county because it so crucially incorporates the Warren County Bike Trail. So if we're going to be locating bike docks in the bike trail right of way, it's important to have the county on board as part of it also.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Chairwoman, have you looked into any source of funding for this?
Brian had a few suggestions. I do not see him on the call. He was going to speak to that, but he did have a couple of different places. One of them could possibly be the stimulus funding, at least for this year and maybe next, since this would fall under some of that economic development funding. So he had a couple of ideas.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I do think that this is an expense that will end up being qualified under the COVID stimulus program. So my thought would be, if you look at the county funds, where we would pull it from, you might look at OCTAP, you might look at the general fund. I think given that this is probably going to be reimbursable through the stimulus, I would I would suggest that we take $10,000 out of the contingency, move it over to the Board of Supervisors budget, and look to get that back out of the stimulus and return it to contingency when we do.
Sounds like a good plan.
But we don't necessarily have to make those decisions today. That's in the realm of the Finance Committee, but that would be one approach that we could consider.
Anybody else have any questions? Anyone in the boardroom? No? All right, I'll call the question then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Great. Thank you, Liza. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're muted, Andrea.
Sorry. Next, we've got Planning Department. Wayne, you ready to go? Or Sarah, you want to go first? Wayne, you want to go first because what Sarah's going to show us is going to blow everybody's heads wide open, and I wouldn't want to follow that. So you go ahead. You're muted.
I turned my camera on, but I didn't turn the mic on. Okay. It's been one of those weekends. I have two requests for committee action. Friday, I was listening to the Board of Supervisors meeting, and I get an email in from Division of Housing Community Renewal that they have opened a funding round for the CARES Act funding. And so in your packet are two resolutions for the county to potentially participate in that funding round. The caveat to this is that they opened the funding round on the last week, and it is an open round. They will fund on the first come, first served basis, basically. I mean, they have to be a good project, but they will accept applications to August 27th, but if funds run out in May, then they're going to close the funding round. You know, we're kind of somewhat in a dilemma with this. There's a request to do the required public hearing. If we wait until April to do the public hearing, the resolution for the public hearing, and then do the public hearing in May, there may not be any funding left by the time we can get an application in after that. So I'm open to suggestions as to how we can actually get the public hearing done at the April board meeting. You need a resolution to authorize that. So if there's a way to do a poll or a special meeting of the board, or if they're going to be meeting in a workshop, is there a way to get this public hearing scheduled for the April board meeting rather than wait until May? So that's the first order of business. I make it easy, right? You know, no complications here.
Well, you know, we talked about this earlier today. It seems like we have to be more responsive than we're set up to be with the way that these grants are rolling out, and the deadlines are so short, and there's so much competition for the money. So you know, we do what we got to do. So what we need to do today, as I understand it, is set a public hearing for April 16th. I'm hoping that the board would be willing to ratify a decision to set that public hearing. So we would be ratifying on the same day that we're holding the public hearing. Does the committee have any thoughts on this? Anybody? Anybody in the boardroom? Supervisor Liggett.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairwoman Hogan. I have no problem with ratifying this. When you see that there's fundings available for certain things, it's almost a no risk. And it does get me thinking of, I wonder if there's just ways that a committee with approval of the chairperson of the board and administrator, something like that, could streamline the public hearing part of the motion.
I don't think we have a process in place to do that today, but it's definitely something we should look at for the future, because I think this is the second or third time lately we've had to do this. Amanda, anybody in the boardroom?
Yes, Chairwoman Sieber. Hi, Chairwoman Hogan. I know you and I have spoke about the workshop that we have, and I'm so grateful for the opportunities to have these workshops throughout this year. I think they've proven to be very helpful. We do have in our standing rules, though, that we do not take any action at the time of the workshops. I'm going to ask our county administrator to take a look into if there's an opportunity to put this item on the agenda. Maybe it's just to discuss without taking any action, or how we can provide any type of assistance moving into that public hearing that you're looking to do on the 16th. I think that with the way that our clerk of the board has set up our meetings, we have a schedule for the entire year. We've got 3 full days that are options, plus a possible executive committee, plus a workshop, plus a board meeting. So I would think that there must be some way we can research this, Administrator Moore, and help, correct?
I'd have to check the rules. Do the rules state that the workshop is not for business?
Right. That's what we were talking about, the fact that we've got rules on the board that are prohibitive of any type of business taking place at workshops. They're informational only. So maybe there is a way to assist with information getting out, or, should the time come that we have to call a special board meeting before or after that. I don't have any problem with ratifying it, but I wouldn't want to make it an everyday occurrence, because I know there have been issues with, there's good reasons in place why we don't do that on a regular basis. But Chairwoman Hogan, I would think that Administrator Moore could look into that a little bit more and see what type of options we could come up with.
Yeah, my gut reaction is we got to schedule a special board meeting. If the board is taking action, which the board has to do in order to declare a public hearing, then we need a special board meeting. And I am looking in the rules right now, where our rules do state that workshops are not for the purpose of taking action. So we would need to convene a special board meeting in accordance with the state law on how to do that.
Is there any reason we can't go with the ratify on this one?
I think that you have to have the board has to take action to hold a public hearing and to advertise a public hearing. I don't think there's any such thing as ratifying that.
All right. What's our path through here then? We have to have a special meeting.
Unless you want to wait until the May meeting to do the public hearing, in which case, you're 60 days into the funding round before you can even put your foot in the door. So that's all I'm trying to bring to the board, is that there is an open window. How you want to handle it or can handle it, there is. The longer you wait, the less funding is going to be available in the pot.
What's the pleasure of the committee? Supervisor Leggett?
Thank you, Chairwoman. 62 other counties are in the same position as us. Announcement came out last week. They have their schedules, board meetings, and all of that as well. So time is of the essence, no doubt about it. But we are not the only ones that are struggling with this date.
So was that a let's wait and take our chances? Is that? I think that's what I was reading there. Anybody else? Supervisor Stroud.
Yes, I believe you're going to have a quorum present with that, whatever the name of the committee is, or the workshop, or whatever you were calling it these days. You're going to have a quorum. So why couldn't you set the public hearing, as long as you announced that you were going to set the public hearing at that particular meeting, so that in April we can have a vote, or have the public hearing and have a vote on this? Why can't we do that format?
Is April 6th enough time before the public hearing on the 16th to properly notice it, Amanda?
I don't think it is. We normally have 10 days. I mean, it would be just. But I have a quick question for Wayne. Remember in the past we had public hearings and we held them right at committee? Is that something we can't do anymore? Because this public hearing is part of the state grant requirement, correct? It's not local law. We're not setting a local law or anything. So in the past they were more lenient and we could do them right at committee.
they are no longer lenient. We got our hands slapped for having the committee do it and not the full board. So the rules that come out for the public hearing requirements state that it must be the governing body conducting the public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, but how about setting the public hearing?
That's the rules of the board, however you guys do business.
Yeah, and typically we set a public hearing at one board meeting to be held at the next board meeting. That way there's plenty of notice for everyone to know that the public hearing is coming. But I had thought maybe since this was grant funding and not a local law, maybe we didn't need to be as stringent, but it sounds like we do.
What would the committee like to do?
Well, if nothing else, I'd ask the committee to establish a public hearing at a date to be determined, maybe. The option that we get the public hearing recommended.
Does that pass muster if we say at a date to be determined?
I don't know.
Well,
yes, Supervisor Stroud.
all right. Well, the rules generally are that you announce a public hearing and that you have announced what you're going to deal with and vote on at the public hearing. And you can set the public hearing as long as you have a quorum of the board. It is an actual Board of Supervisors meeting if there's a quorum present. That's the law. So, you know, I know that Supervisor Sieber has set up these workshops, which in essence, you know, the law does not distinguish between a workshop and a regular meeting. Not the law. They are bona fide meetings if there's a quorum of supervisors there. So at this proposed, workshop meeting, which really is a Board of Supervisors meeting, you could set the public hearing.
So the other piece of that, though, is Amanda isn't quite sure the 6th is enough time. Go ahead, Amanda.
One other option we may have that would fit a schedule that everyone's going to be here for already. April 1st, we're having finance and personnel. We could schedule a special board meeting on that day since it would just be for one small topic. That would give us plenty of time to notice for the 16th.
Chairwoman, are you amenable to that?
I like that, man.
Hi, Chairwoman Hogan. I think that's a good suggestion, and I will just remind everyone that when we passed our rules of the board, in the rules of the board was a note under workshops that we would not conduct any business at those meetings. So while I so appreciate the opportunity to utilize these workshops to provide education and inform our community, we did agree not to have any action taken during those workshops. So I think the clerk of the board's suggestion here to perhaps have that special meeting at that point in time for the purposes of just this topic would be incredibly helpful and quick and provide us an ability to be in accordance with that. And I would also say for these grant opportunities, I mean, we can always try to be, I know this came up quick, but proactive to put in a request that we may be applying for a grant. You know, I think we talked about that even earlier today. So as they're coming up, we don't always then have to fulfill that if we decide not to, or of course, if we don't get it. But I understand what happened with this one, Wayne, but it sounds like a lot may be coming up, and we can try to do as many workarounds or work together to collaboratively meet those needs. That was a long answer, but yes, Andrea.
May I add, the first is a better option anyway. The first would be a better option than the workshop on the 7th because it'll give us more time to do the advertisements that we need to do in order to actually have the public hearing held in on the same day as the board meeting.
Okay, so we'll go ahead with our resolution to set the public hearing for April 16th. Anybody else have anything, any other questions, comments? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Great. Thank you. Wayne, was there anything else? Oh, Amanda, what's up?
I didn't have a motion marked for that one. I think you just discussed it, but I don't recall that there was actual motion made.
Okay, let's backtrack on it then. Can I have a motion to set the public hearing for April 16th?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Supervisor Frazier. Second?
Second, Leggett.
Thank you, Supervisor Leggett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Great. All right, Wayne, did you have anything else?
yes, there's another resolution request to actually submit an application. I provided the quick and dirty sheet. The notice of funding availability is to the types of projects that are available. We still have to look at some things. They do have to meet the benefit to low and moderate income persons. And so that was a concern I had at the task force meeting, that this money coming out, if it came through the housing community renewal at the state level, would be tied to LMI benefit. So just as an aside, the only thing I'm thinking of right at the moment, and if other things come forward, is Countryside. Countryside meets the low moderate income benefit. And when you look at the notice of funding availability, it's air handling and air filtration qualities. And there's a $368,000 price tag on the Beardsley report for ventilators and HVAC upgrades at Countryside. So, that's my first blush, whether we could make that eligible or not. But certainly there's other opportunities.
Anybody have any questions for Wayne? Supervisor Leggett?
Yeah, thank you, Chairwoman. Is there a way to get a short list before the public hearing on what we would be interested in going for?
I could certainly entertain, anybody's got any ideas. I do have, I have contacted Kevin Hajos. One of the other things that comes up out of this is that the Beardsley report was done in 2019. Generally, they require a cost estimate and a report that's less than a year old. So I did contact Beardsley on Friday about potentially updating to meet the new COVID filtration requirements, whatever. They came back a little more than I thought, but it's $17,000 to upgrade it, the report, and to provide another on-site inspection, and to work up revise the cost estimate and whatever. So at some point we need to make a decision how we're going to address that issue as having a recent cost estimate. For the application we just submitted under the funding round, the CDBG round, Kevin, as the county engineer per se, kind of validated the costs that were in there, but those costs that are in the report do not take into the added filtration requirements that have come out regarding the COVID and other pandemic or viruses that might be out there. So I don't know what those new standards would do to that $368,000 estimate that was in there. So whether that update could be taken out of the capital reserve for Countryside, I don't know. But that's just one other part of the discussion that we need to have. And I'll talk with Ryan and Kevin Hajos about that as we move forward.
And the limits are 100,000, it looks like.
Minimum 100,000. And the county can apply, I believe.
Maximum 500.
The county can apply up to $1 million. The minimum is 100.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
County is eligible up to $1 million if you can relate it to a COVID expense. So the one thing I don't know is whether we can do an application for multiple activities or whether we'd have to do applications for each activity if we did something with the vaccine rollout or we did, if we made something else work here. So that's still up for discussion, and this is hot off the press, kind of.
All right, so we need a resolution for
applying
to the grant.
So
and with the understanding that we'll get the details shortly. Is that correct, Wayne?
We'll by the board meeting or hopefully by finance, it's somewhere in this, somebody's got to tell me what the county wants to apply for. I mean, I made a recommendation, but I think I need to sit with or chat with Ryan and whoever else and see what we've got that fits into the criteria. I just want to make sure that we have the opportunity to apply by getting the resolutions and the public hearing in place. The actual projects are, up for discussion.
Is everybody comfortable with that process? Okay.
We
Do I
have,
need a motion? Craig, go ahead.
well, we have multi-year plans in place, capital plans. So, sorry. So I think we have a really good start to just go with what we have today.
If I may make one correction, I did this resolution request form Sunday night, and trust me, it was a long weekend. The item G on the resolution request form says termination date 2 years. The actual notice and the regs say 1 year. So I'd just like to correct that. Amanda, you got that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody want to move this?
I did.
You did? Do I have a second? Supervisor Stroud, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. I think.
The only other thing I had before we turn it over to Sarah is that I just wanted to inform the committee that we did assist the town of Chester with an application on the last round of the Small Cities Fund for engineering studies for the Pottersville Water District. We did the same thing with the town of Warrensburg for engineering study and assessment for their sewer district. And then the county did apply for $300,000 for Countryside.
Thank you, Wayne.
That's all I have for the committee.
Thank you very much. Sarah, you're up.
Okay.
Got it. Sorry. And you told me that, Tammy.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I haven't been in this room in a long time. So we are going to spend a few minutes talking about the capital improvement plan, and I'm going to probably back up way to the beginning because I know it's been a bit of time since we've talked about this, and we have some new committee members and some new board members since then. Before I get started though, I just wanted to mention we have a couple projects that we worked on over quarantine. Amanda in our office primarily worked on these, and we haven't really discussed them. We haven't had an opportunity to discuss them at all, but Amanda made new zoning maps and APA land classification maps for all the towns. So it's your same information, but we just felt like the maps probably needed a refresh and people needed new copies of those. So I have them for everybody. Feel free to pick them up. And if you're not here in person today, feel free to stop by anytime you're down at the planning office and get them. And also a few of the towns, we have water and sewer maps. That was another big project that Amanda did during quarantine. And we actually were almost finished with it when COVID struck last year. So we're in the process of printing updated water and sewer maps. Amanda digitized some we had already done. She finished up where we had left off. So all water and sewer information, we have those printed with parcel boundaries and aerial photography. So feel free to stop by and get those anytime if you're not here in person. Okay, so moving on to the capital improvement plan. For those of you who were not around when we started this, or those of you who need a refresh, I believe it was about 2 years ago, approaching that time period, that Supervisor Conover suggested the idea of creating an inventory of capital projects throughout the county, just so that we would have a good idea of what our needs were countywide. And at the beginning of that project, I did not know what a capital improvement plan was. I didn't really have a good sense of what the end goal of this project was, and started by creating a survey that we sent out to
County DPW and Buildings and Grounds, as well as all the town supervisors and also SUNY Adirondack and Cool Insuring Arena. And we asked them just to provide information on projects that were underway or that they needed to see happen. And what we ended up getting back was sort of a fruit salad type dump of a big mishmash of all sorts of things, projects that were funded at the town level, other projects that maybe had a planning study completed but didn't have any funding to move to the next step, other projects that were just very wish list items, some projects that were fully budgeted out for 5 years. So after we went through that initial data collection period, realized that we needed to refine this a little bit. And I also did some reading and got up to speed on capital improvement plans. And I also wanted to thank Tammy for her huge amount of help with this. She helped with following up with all various different entities and getting updated data and making corrections to the data. And she also is an excellent sounding board as I was trying to figure all of this out. So I definitely couldn't have done it without her and wanted to thank her. So I realized that we needed to split this into a couple different things. So the first is very straightforward. No need to reinvent the wheel. We needed to create a capital improvement plan for the county, for county projects that we want to budget over a 5-year period. So basically our capital needs for the county. Some of these we already have that are budgeted out 5 years. Those are the projects that are included in the TIP. So primarily our roads and bridges projects, roads and bridge projects. Kevin Hajos already goes through that budgeting process, and we had information about that. The other county projects, we separated out into a pile of things that we need have funding for. So those are the projects that will need to be reviewed and we'll need to decide how we want to fund those and how we want to budget, prioritize those and budget those over a 5-year period. Along with that, a document, we need to write a document, which is the actual capital improvement plan that lists those projects that will be included over the 5-year budget cycle. And this is a living document, so this will be updated annually so that we'll continue along. We'll have a rolling 5-year document. Tammy's working on actually putting the hard copy version of that document together. Ryan also has, our county administrator has been through this process in Westchester, so he's familiar with creating a capital improvement plan, and he was able to provide a lot of good insight, and we used a lot of the same format that he was familiar with in Westchester County. So that's one component. The other component is not something that I found had been done anywhere else. And I think Supervisor Conover would attest to that, that this is kind of a unique idea to create a county-wide inventory of needed projects. This actually came in really handy over the summer when NACO requested, or NISAC requested the list of projects to provide to Washington, and we were able to compile that list fairly quickly because we had this inventory that had been created over the previous year. So at that point last June, I approached all the town supervisors again, sent them what they had that was in the list from our previous data collection process and asked for updates. And I updated the inventory based on feedback. Not everybody provided feedback to me at that point in time, but many people did. So we had a fairly updated list as of last June. From there, what I decided to do is remove all the projects that had a funding source, so that what we were really looking at was an inventory of projects that were just identified but didn't have any study associated with them, didn't really have a firm idea of what the cost would be to implement, as well as projects that had gone through the study process. We maybe had engineering reports and drawings, and we had an estimate of what the cost to implement these projects would be, but that's where they were stalled out. So they haven't come to fruition because of lack of funding. And the end goal of this, I think, is to enable the county to provide assistance to the towns in completing these projects. So whether that is through assisting with identifying opportunities for grant funding and assist with writing the grant application, or potentially providing some limited funding to assist with completing studies, or whatever the county decides as we go forward with available funds. But that's where we stand right now. So I put together a website that separates all this out, also answers some questions and outlines the general process that Tammy and I came up with that we think hopefully will make sense to you, but we'd like to get some feedback. So I am going to share my screen. Okay. So this is our draft website for our capital improvement planning. This first page here, the planning process, I've outlined some questions. So you may be like me, probably not. You probably already know what a capital improvement plan is, but if you don't, this page explains what constitutes a capital project. So typically this is a project that has a large dollar amount and has a long useful life. So these are not maintenance projects, and they're not routine vehicle fleet purchases. They're large projects. A plan basically is the document, that 5-year living document that outlines the budgeting priorities for our capital expenditures. And again, we're talking about two separate things here. So that capital improvement plan will be something that we have started and will continue to develop for the county, but not for the towns. So as far as project categories that are eligible, this is what we've come up with. Obviously, this is open to discussion, and we can add to this list, but primarily we're talking about, at the county level, we're talking about roads and bridges, the airport, countryside, our facilities, our recreational facilities such as the bikeway, and then any major equipment purchases. For the towns and SUNY Adirondack and Cool Insuring Arena, we're talking about bike ped projects, energy projects, environmental remediation projects, facilities, park, sewer, stormwater, transportation, and water. Those are all those same categories that we included in this first round of data collection. As far as entities, again, this is who we had talked about being eligible: all the towns, village, city, SUNY Adirondack and Cool Insuring Arena, LDC, and then the review process. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this review process that we've come up with a draft of here. So basically what we're thinking will make the most sense is to establish 2 committees for the review of the projects that are in the needed project inventory. We should come up with a set of criteria for a ranking criteria for determining how projects will be funded. Those can include any of those questions there. I won't read them all to you, but I think having some sort of set criteria as the committee is reviewing projects would be a good thing. And then here's a kind of a detailed flow chart. So we're thinking essentially what would happen is these committees would review projects in the spring, rank them projects at the county level, probably the committee involved with reviewing those would be Kevin Hajos, the budget officer, county administrator, probably somebody from the planning department. And then the town project review committee would be most likely made up primarily of county supervisors, but we're definitely open to suggestion and discussion on this process. And then projects that are selected out of the town inventory or the outside entity project inventory, if grant funding is available, typically that happens in the summer through the CFA process, but oftentimes there are other grant opportunities that arise during the year. So the planning department will take the lead and staying on top of that and being able to select projects out of that inventory that may qualify for additional funding opportunities. But for the CFA process in the summer, going through this process of reviewing these projects in the spring, selecting which ones we want to submit for grant applications, which ones maybe we would provide funding for to do a small study as necessary to move it to the next step. That should happen in the spring ahead of the CFA process and the budgeting process. And then those will be included in the budget for the following year. So in addition to the outline of the process, we've also put together some dashboards of all of the existing projects. So this is that refined list of projects that all of you submitted a couple years ago, and then we revisited last summer. And we've also made some updates here and there as we were aware of additional projects. This is all interactive, so this can be filtered by community. We'll take a look at projects in the town of Johnsburg. All of these items update to reflect the town that's selected or entity that's selected. So right now we have 10 total projects listed in the town of Johnsburg with an estimated cost of a little over $16 million. I can select these all out by type of project, as well as priority. And then whether it's an expansion, improvement, replacement, repair. Each one of these projects has additional details. So this is what you have provided to me or what we have on hand as far as what we know about that project. In this case, I believe for Tannery Pond, we have a building evaluation report of what needs to be done in Tannery Pond. We have some photos. I think we have the riverfront part. I think we have some drawings, cost estimates. Each one of these, I've also created a project sheet. So this is, for those of you who are here in the boardroom, I handed out hard copies of these. This is just a one-page summary of all the information about the project. So again, those of you who are here, I gave you hard copy versions. We have those on hand, and we will get those sheets to those of you who are not here in person over the next few days. If you're going to be down at the Municipal Center in the next few days, please let me know and you can stop by and pick them up. Otherwise, we'll bring them up to you. So what we'd like to do at this point is get a current inventory. So again, this is a year old at this point. We'd like everybody to review their projects, make sure that they're current and up to date, and make any corrections that are needed, get them back to us. We also have a survey, so similar to the survey that you did the last time. I have another one set up here so that if you have new projects, you can submit them using this form. if you feel uncomfortable with that, you can also just email me the details or send me a hard copy or whatever your preferred method of getting project details to me. And we'll get this dashboard fully updated and current. And at that point, I'll send everybody a link so that you can play around with it. Does anybody have any questions?
Sarah, as always, you're amazing. You're just amazing. I can't even. I'm so excited about this. I really, really am. Does anybody have any questions? Supervisor Leggett.
How long did this take? This is absolutely amazing. And your knowledge of ArcGIS is incredible.
Thank you. I can't figure out how to get Zoom. Maybe I guess my technology abilities are end at Zoom. There we go.
I'll take care of it.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it took a little while. I won't lie. There's a lot of details in this.
Wonderful.
It's beautiful and intuitive. It really is. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hogan. Sarah, that is just amazing for someone that didn't even know what a capital project was at the beginning, and to come up with a list and break it right down per town, per job, per number. What an awesome job, and thank you so much for your persistence on this.
Ryan?
As Sarah mentioned that I had done the capital program and capital budget in Westchester, I can tell you that Westchester doesn't have anything nearly as impressive as this in terms of tying it into the GIS system and having an interface that we can use this way. It's a job very, very well done.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you. Sarah, I missed some of that and I apologize, but if we took all the highest priority projects and the most urgent projects and grouped them all together, how much do we need right now in terms of capital funds?
So if we took all of the
Let's just say high priority
projects, it's about a little under 17 million.
17 million. So we have enough in our reserves to be able to do this right now then, right? The point is it's a lot of money. I'm not sure how we're going to go about the negotiation process to identify which one is 1A versus 1B, C, D, E, and F, right? It's going to be interesting process. Thank you. That's all I had.
That's a very good observation, Mike. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Sarah? Any comments? Anybody in the boardroom? Sarah, really, again, thank you so much. So the next step is for everyone to go and check it out. You're going to send a link. Have you figured out how to do that for this many people?
Yeah. So so what I would like to do is have everybody send me back their project sheets. I figured it was probably easier to do it in hard copy for many of you, but you can write on those sheets. You can take a picture of them, send them back to me. You can fax them back to me. You can email me comments, whatever is the easiest mechanism for you to send those updates back to me. I will also email everyone a link to the survey for new projects. So if you have new things that you didn't get a sheet for that you want to add into this inventory, please submit them using the link that I'll send, or if you don't feel comfortable using that survey, you can also just email or call or whatever is your preferred method of communication. And then once I have processed all the updates, I will send everybody out a link to this website so that you can look at it.
All right. Everybody's got their homework. I will just remind you to also review the criteria for what a project is while you're doing that. It's a great way for everybody to become familiar with all this. Wayne, did you have something?
I just want to add, it's a great job. Sarah's worked hard at it, and so is Amanda. What I will say is that when we just did 3 grant applications, we assisted, as I indicated in the meeting earlier, we assisted the town of Chester, town of Warrensburg, and we did an application for Countryside. All 3 of those came off that capital improvement plan. And that's how basically this office determined the best approach going forward was utilizing what was already provided in that capital improvement plan. So again, for the local municipalities and for the county, that's a great inventory. There was an issue in the town of Warrensburg on Burdick Avenue I wasn't aware of until it went into the capital improvement plan, and then that led us to the point of doing a technical assistance application for their sewer district. So I just want to say that for the town supervisors and at the county, if there's a project, get it in there. Sarah loves to crunch numbers and have to rework everything to add stuff, but let's use it. So that's all.
There are so many applications for this, not only at the county, but from the town perspective, and how it's going to help people to better understand what we're working on in each community. It's going to help supervisors with our succession. Also, the next person can step in and easily see what's in process here. There's so many applications, Sarah. And when you put it in such an intuitive format, and it's so easy for us to use, it just becomes a really powerful tool for all of us. So thank you again and again, and to Wayne, and really thanks to Supervisor Conover for the, getting the ball rolling and encouraging this process from the start. I don't think he's here, but I think that he needs to be recognized here. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Anybody? All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. That was a long meeting. You hung in there. I appreciate it. Is there any public comment, Don?
Hello, Chairwoman Hogan. We do not have any public comment right now.
All right. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Supervisor Frazier. Anybody for a second?
Madam Chair, before we vote.
Supervisor Leggett, all in favor?
Madam Chair, before we vote.
Yes, Supervisor Wild.
I'm wondering if we might be able to move this meeting to a Wednesday so that we aren't running 2 days in a row where we go from 9 until after 1. Just a thought, but I will not delay the motion to adjourn.
Okay, well, we can look at it. I think typically we have gone till 1, 2 o'clock on duty days, right? I don't think it's all that unusual, but we can talk about it, sure. I'll see if there's somewhere else we can go with this one, but thank you for bringing that up. All right, everybody want to adjourn? Give me a good hearty aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.